Most people would literally rather watch their own body decomposing in the ground, eyeballs being eaten out by worms, than sit through a council meeting. They're long and boring, and they feature lots of speeches by wizened people with matted hair, kind of like a Peter Jackson movie with fewer eagle strikes. But last week's Auckland Council meeting was incredible, partly because it featured several presentations by extravagantly hatted women, but mainly because it featured a huge number of old people yelling angrily at the changing world.
Order.
Order. Listen to the outer scope.
Yeah, okay. Just thank you.
Boss! This crotchety boomer gang are from Auckland 2040, a group mainly opposed, and I'm paraphrasing here, to putting houses for poor or young or otherwise grotty people in the rich places where they live. They went to the meeting last week because council had semi-secretly changed its Unitary Plan to allow thousands more 3-storey buildings in some of Auckland's leafy suburbs. No one was consulted on the changes, and Auckland 2040 was super steamed.
You may hear that my voice is a bit shaky at the moment, but as I said at the start, if you look around the room at the moment, Alex and I are probably the only young people in this room.
Oh, it's not. You are.
When's the last time you lustily jeered a clearly nervous, vulnerable person? Maybe a Donald Trump rally, a public execution. It just feels like Twitter pylons have nothing on real-life baby boomer bullying. This is what they did to Generation Zero's Sudhavir Singh.
Because essentially you'll be pulling the ladder for the chance for young people to afford to live in the city.
These clips feature two of the most important recurring characters in this satanic abomination of a democratic process. The guy who shouts rubbish is like a drunk man lying on the side of the road, covered in his own feces, shouting incoherently at passers-by.
Please abide.
How rude.
The guy who says how rude is like a depressed Winnie the Pooh, exclaiming sadly at every terrible thing that happens in front of him. Things just kept getting worse.
There needs to be a lot less self-interest and more tolerance and generosity in this debate.
Architect, you have self-interest.
Order, please.
That's like the Pope accusing me of being too Catholic. Eventually some of the submitters started to crack.
Julie,
Excuse me, I'd like to finish what I'm saying.
But no one was more bruised by the constant tide of abuse than Mayor Len Brown.
You to worry,
just
Kenny,
wait a minute, please.
At the bottom line
just
here,
wait a minute. And so just tie-ho.
You had a chance to.
Come on. Right, now.
This whole 6-hour meeting doubles as an account of one man's disintegration both emotionally and spiritually. By the end he was so worn down he was reduced to seemingly meaningless babbling.
I feel like David Kirkpatrick.
And finally he reached the point of total defeat. It wasn't just the Auckland 2040 crowd, he was also dealing with a co-worker he clearly despises.
I did have a question, Mr. Mayor.
No, I've said two. Thank you very much, Wayne.
We haven't heard much around that.
I guess my
look, you might struggle with the question there, Don.
It's a simple question,
We
Mr.
get used
Chairman.
to these sort of statements.
Len was devoted to shutting down as many of Wayne Walker's long, nasal, whining speeches as possible. When Wayne finally got to speak, it was obvious why.
It follows that you're actually going to have construction on that land. That means it's probably going to be more expensive both to buy and also to rent, which doesn't do anything for affordability of houses or rental. All you're doing is dramatically escalating the price of land, dramatically escalating often what goes on the land, and making the whole city more unaffordable.
Presumably this means factory farming chickens increases the price of eggs, or buying in bulk increases the cost of a product, which is why the warehouse is the most expensive store in town. I asked the respected economist Shamabeel Yaqub for his response to Wayne Walker's speech.
Hey mate, that's just moronic bullshit. Completely incompetent and incoherent mumbo-jumbo from someone who doesn't understand dynamics and supply and demand.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2016 councillors.
Do away with the process, just build the houses. No, I'm just asking the question. It's an important question, Mr Mayor, and it's the fundamental question that we're here today about.
I'd like, can I just...
Just order. Councillor George, you be careful. You'll have some problem that I have.